Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday's Learn and Share. This is Dave Thompson from Cardinia Shire Council. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, we are unable to bring you the video, but we still have the audio for you. Of course, during stage 4 lockdown, everything's a little bit different, so we all have to be flexible and a little bit adaptive. I currently am recording this in my home. I don't have a studio at my house, so like all things, we've just got to be adaptive and work with what we have. So it's a great interview we've got for you today with Lana and Carl, two local visual artists that also run a printmaking shop. We're so excited to bring this chat to you, and we're hoping to run some workshops with them in the near future. They've got an exhibition up in the Hills Hub later in the year, and they are a recipient of the Cardinia Shire Council COVID response grant. So I won't take up any more of your time. Stay with us and enjoy.
Okay, everyone, welcome to our Tuesday Learn and Share program featuring conversation series. And today we have our artists, Lana de Jager and Carl de Jager. Did I pronounce that correctly? So sorry.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Pretty close. Okay, before we start, I just wanted to, in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting and pay respects to the oldest past, present, emerging. So welcome again, everyone, to our Tuesday, and it's a great pleasure. And I'm actually joined by my colleague, Dave, who you can't see his photo, but he's actually here with us. But we'd like to welcome Carl and Lana to our first conversation with artists. So hello, you two. Welcome to our first one.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Hi.
So really, we really wanted to have a conversation with you and for you to talk about what you're actually doing at the moment, to talk about your practice. And we know that you are working on the exhibition that is coming up. So please, tell us all about yourselves.
Ooh.
Straight into it.
Straight into it.
Like long walk in nature. I immigrated to Australia nearly 24 years ago now, 1998. No, 22 years ago. From South Africa, and so I'm half Aussie, half South African, I think. And we settled in Melbourne maybe 10 years ago and moved out into the hills of Pakenham about 5 years ago. And yeah, I love it here. I love it here very much.
And I followed close on her heels in 2003. I moved to Australia. But then in 2015, I came to Australia as a graphic designer and software developer. But then in 2015, I had maybe like a mini midlife crisis and decided that I need to abandon earning money.
No more money for me.
And go and study art. So I went to Barcelona to study there because it's one of the few places that has the specific kind of teaching the old methods of drawing and painting. There's more schools that teach it in the world, but Barcelona was the cheapest and also the most exciting. So I went to Barcelona, and then at the beginning of the year, I came back to Australia just in time for a pandemic.
Just in time for restrictions number 2.
So I finished studying in Barcelona, and I decided I started maybe a year ago. Started teaching at the school where I studied, and I was painting. But after moving back to Australia, I decided to learn printmaking from my sister because it seems like a much more a safer way of creating art at the moment. Mainly because economically it makes more sense. You end up with works on paper that you can sell multiple copies of. Therefore, you can make it cheaper and it's easy to roll it up and send it in the post anywhere in the world.
Yes, you can work on a painting or a sketch for months or weeks, but to actually get paid for that, like nobody's going to pay $6,000 for a sketch from someone that they don't know. But if you divide it amongst a small edition of prints, you can make lots of people happy.
And make it worth the time that you spend doing it.
And talk about actually about your work. I know it's I'm pretty sure you probably have a topic or something that you're exploring yourself. It's sort of not only about the technique, but in terms of telling a story.
Yes. When Carl was still in Barcelona and the world was going crazy with COVID, I had all these projects planned out to do with climate change, artwork around climate change and around my living environment here, but I couldn't seem to focus on it. You know, when everyone stopped being able to focus when COVID just hit, it felt like that, but I couldn't get to my work, and it was because all these images were coming to me about COVID, about my girlfriend who was stuck in Kuala Lumpur and the Zoom meetings that I was having with her that were just disconnected from things. And so I thought about this together alone concept and really teasing that out in all its multiple forms with its emotional overlay and its media overlay. And so I went into COVID pictures with that mental health and emotional overlay idea in mind, and those are the images that I'm making. And yours is mine's a bit more scattered, or a bit more the scattergun approach, and his is a bit more focused.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm focusing a little bit more on one aspect of the lockdowns, and that's the kind of isolation that we go into and the relationship that we have with the space that's around us. Initially, when I first thought of the idea for this collection, I was, oh yes, and it's like architecture. I'm going to include architectural maps and drawings of rooms, because the idea that I had behind it was that when we're in lockdown, and we're locked down in specific rooms and houses, and sometimes it's a big house with lots of spaces, and sometimes it's a tiny space. There's all these connections to people and connections to other spaces that we've kind of lost. And I started thinking that to some degree, it's almost as if we're losing parts of ourselves. And if we take that further, I could imagine images where we're losing parts of bodies. So as I started working through the collection, though, I realized that the images that were the strongest for me and that I felt most attracted to were dealing on a much more abstract level with just the experience of isolation and protection. So you'll see in many of the works that I've created, the figures, generally you don't see faces. They're usually in some kind of a curled up position, or a position in which they try to protect themselves or brace themselves. And that's kind of where this collection has taken me.
But in a non-dramatic way. His work is a kind of a dramatic feeling, but it's been depicted in a very non-dramatic way, which is amazing.
So now I can actually share on the screen some of your pieces. So I'm just going to try to open. I'll open one from Lana first. Just see if it's going to come up. I really hope that this is going to work. So just bear with me, everyone.
Well, we could already see your desktop, so I think it's working.
I can see your desktop. Yeah.
Oh, it's working. So you can see my desktop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just go back to...
Which one?
There.
So while you're opening that, should we explain how we've commissioned Lana and Carl as part of our COVID response?
Yep.
Grant? So just so if everyone is just tuning in from home, what we're talking about here is when COVID first kicked off, we put out a grant for local artists to create a work. It didn't have to be responsive to COVID, but Carl, Lana, as you can hear from them talking, are doing a work very personal and very in direct response. It's also going to be on exhibition at the new Hills Hub in Emerald. And what I find really interesting about that now is that the Hills Hub is currently a COVID-19 testing site. So we would be working from there, but that's completely shut down and we don't know when it will be opening again. In fact, your exhibition was really about to be around September, and just the way that's changed really reflects what we're all going through in COVID and the stress and anxiety we're feeling. And we shared that before, and these works that we're going to see is so responsive to that.
Let me see. I just need to find.
In the meantime, I can tell anyone, people that are watching this at the moment, that the process of applying, I want to thank both you, Fatima and Dave. You were so supportive. It was really easy.
Yes.
And I'm really pleased because at that moment, the kinds of responses and the help that we were getting from you were
just what we needed.
Just what we needed
at the right
that moment.
time. Yeah. It started with you, Dave, because you were really responsive to Carl's email and really going, talking ideas through with him, not just being an information bot on the other side. You were a human on the other side that made us feel like, yeah, go for it. Just go for it. Because I've never received a grant, and neither have you.
No.
Yeah.
I hope you have applied for one. Have you applied for one before? You have applied for a couple.
I've been applying for a good 2 years to City of Melbourne and Big Arts, and they always give us really good feedback why you don't get it, because there's a lot of artists who need support. So,
I think I should just say quickly as well, it's really exciting. So to give you a quick introduction, Lana also does this as a business from home, is that right?
That's right.
So I think that's really exciting. When we got this application, it was looking at, we've got 2 individual artists, but also someone who runs a business in the creative industry. I think it's really important for any artists out there listening is that you're small business owners, and that's the way we look at you, is that you're part of this creative industry. Right. Well, that's how I look at it. And
no, it's true. I was a graphic designer for 25 years, and I let all my clients go maybe 3 years ago, and went 4 years ago and decided I'm just going to go for art full time and set up all the software and hardware and tools that I needed to do it. And then just as I was getting going, this happened. It felt like I had just hit the 3-year mark, because what I always say, it takes 3 years to build up a small business, and then this happens. And I'm like, right, how am I going to keep going? Because what else are you going to do? Clean the house? Every time.
Have a very clean house.
I mean, that's such an interesting reflection, because artists are struggling right now. And I think we are a vulnerable group in the fact that what we do is very responsive to our environment. And I know both your works are very responsive to your personal environment and experience and lived experience. And I think COVID's compounded that. And so it's also being aware that no small business is going to be flourishing right now. So how do we respond to that and be compassionate and generous to our community and ourselves?
Yeah, and how do we find our worth in this space? Because I immediately went into mum mode. My cousin came to live with us, my brother came and lived with us. Well, that was before that, and just cleaned the house and organized the cupboards and made sure there was food and planned meals, and realized 3 weeks into it, I haven't done a stitch of work, and my mind needs it as well.
Yes, I remember lockdown 1.
Lockdown 1.
When everyone started producing stuff in lockdown, and we started feeling really guilty because we're watching the news every day, and that's all we can have mental space for doing. And then gradually we just started feeling the need to go back into the studio and just start drawing again.
So you have a studio at home, a little workshop?
I have a converted bedroom,
Awesome.
which I would take you there, but my internet is so poor because I'm also in the hills, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm sitting right next to the router in the kitchen so I can get internet. But it's a converted bedroom with some fake brass on the floor so that I don't ruin the carpets with the ink. And it's got an attached bathroom to it, which is my wet room. So I have a dry room and a wet room. Yeah, and a run for my cat, so he can't actually jump on any of the surfaces. So he runs along a bunch of boxes into a bigger box that sits in the window, so he can't get out and put his hair all over my work.
And I have a convertible studio as well. I convert my bedroom into a studio every morning.
Convertible. It's just nice for people to hear actually how we live and how we actually respond in this situation.
Yeah, I think we need to. I lost my sense of humor a couple of weeks ago, which really made me suffer. But if you keep your sense of humor and you keep being creative, and also, you know, maybe we should remember that we might need to settle into this a bit. So do create the nicest environment that we can for ourselves, because this might be for a long time, like years or a year.
That's great.
So you could, with your studio where you print, Lana, you could get any high-res photo and print it in such a way, or any drawing, or
any drawing, yes. The method at Balderson Press allows you to transfer anything to a metal plate. The ladies there, or lots of the people there, work in art photography, but we prefer to draw and transfer the drawings to the plates instead.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Amazing.
To make a drawing live a little bit longer than one sketch.
And there's something that happens. You make a drawing and it looks a certain way, and then as soon as you make a print from it, something changes. The printing process adds, I don't know, noise or texture, something that makes it feel different. I don't know how to describe it. Richer.
Yeah, it feels richer. And also you can, once you've got a plate with grooves in it, there's a nearly endless variety of things you can do to it. You can, there's all these French techniques of adding ink in with daubers in different colors to different areas, putting bits of tissue over the top of it that has a sticky side. And each print can be absolutely unique, or you can try and edition, which is quite a trick, an edition of 10 that look very close to the same. Both of those are possible.
I mean, it's amazing that there's it's quite a traditional medium. It's using traditional techniques and traditional ideas, but then applying it, because if you look at your artwork and then it's applying it to a modern context.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
And it's never come out of fashion, printmaking since, so when was Dürer, Albrecht Dürer?
17th century.
17th century. And Goya and all the masters did etches. It never really went away. It just developed into silk screening and etching onto large plates that are themselves displayed. It just exploded and expanded. So there's a really huge body of different kinds of printmaking.
No, that's
in Melbourne has a very large number of printmakers.
Victoria,
and printmaking studios and printmaking supply stores.
It's partly because of these two ladies whose name I can't remember now, who created shops in Melbourne in the early 20th century, like the 40s or the 50s, and started art supply stores importing paper and inks from Europe. And those are still on Flinders Street and in Fitzroy. Wish I knew their names. I'm so sorry. They're the ladies who started the printmaker gallery in Brunswick Street.
I don't know. No.
Anne and Beth. No, we don't know. I don't know. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So, Dave, are you able to show us some of the artwork?
I just was able to save a couple.
If you can't, we can go grab some from the studio and just show it like this.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Totally.
Or I think just because of the quality,
Sure.
if we can show on the.
How's that? Is that coming up?
Yep, it's coming up. Yep, I can see it.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, you did it. Well done.
That's fantastic. Yes. So, Lana, this is your work?
It is. And, you know, the process that you just saw is the actual technical process of making the art, but that we each have a different process of getting to this space before we print, getting our sketch done. Mine is to do a photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have the concepts in my head, and then I do a photo shoot, and I mess about with different combinations of photos until I'm happy. For this one, Carl just posed for me because I needed to do something about the masses of information that we are consuming at the moment, and I want to consume these masses of information because it's really interesting, and we don't want to look away at this stage in our history, but at the same time, it's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is my take on infodemic.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
What I'll do is I'll grab another one as well because this one was a bit topical.
So how many works are you gonna have each in the exhibition? Do you have an idea?
We're reaching for 10 each. I think we're on about 8 at the moment. It depends on our plate making facilities.
Oh yes.
Because of this new restrictions, we're not allowed to go to St Andrews. And we have to negotiate with one of the ladies there to maybe make our plates for us and send it in the mail. But if that's not possible, you know, it will happen eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe not in 6 weeks, but maybe when the lockdown is lifted. But yeah, we're quite restricted at the moment. We keep sketching. We're continuing sketching so we don't get stuck. But we'll see. Round about there. We'll run between 16 and 20 works we'll have together.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that you're having an exhibition together?
Yes.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
Because we applied each separately for the grant, and then when we both got the grants, we realized it would be amazing if we could exhibit together.
Yeah. We were out doing grocery shopping. We just bought some tomatoes from the market, and we were jumping up and down at the back of the car with the tomatoes bobbing around, going, "Look, look!" Yeah, I completely forgot how exciting that is. It's kind of a lifelong dream, even though we never said it in that way. We've always said we want to do something together. We thought it was graphic design or maybe a little small business, but then Carl went and did proper art. And we kind of forgot about it again.
Well, not really, because we started talking about this when we last saw each other.
Last June.
We started talking about maybe collaborating on some prints or something.
Maybe he paints on my prints, or I make prints. He designs, he draws print, and I'm his technical person on this side making the plates for him. Because in printmaking, there are people who specialize in being technicians, and they print your print 250 times perfectly. That's a really well-known artists have a technician that will do their editions for them. So I thought maybe I could do that for Carl, but this is even better.
Well, we never imagined that we would be in lockdown in Pakenham.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Talking to you.
I think that's interesting though, because I know with both your individual applications, Carl, I was talking to you before as well, and you both are talking about your individual experience and both your individual male and female experience. I know you've both showed that in your application, and then also then bring it together as a brother and sister, and then the way you've learned of Lana and her techniques and how you've informed each other. There's actually a lot of layers to this exhibition that gets me really excited, that it's not just, hey, we're going to put up this work and this is the question. It's like we're informing each other, we're teaching each other, we're learning off each other, but we're also bringing our own individual. I think that's what, with when we looked at the application, that's what for me got me really excited, because I could see, and so people listening in, you're going to obviously have to come and see the exhibition now, but it's that there's so many layers to it, and then you put the COVID as well, and you're in amongst that together. I think it'd be quite a unique.
Making art always has this emotional vibration to it, and if you put over the top of it an international pandemic, and over the top of that the media that we can't get away from, we don't want to, and we want to, if you put all those things together, it's really intense at the moment, isn't it? Everything's really intense. Like you notice a detail on the side of a bench, like a scrape or something, and it's really vivid. Everything's really vivid.
Everything's changed perspective and focus.
My husband was saying to me the other morning when we went walking that I was saying to him, so I get my head around the changes and then we change again, and then I get my head around the changes and I'm like, yeah, I did it. I got my head around the changes and then it changes again. And he was saying, we are going through a massive process of natural selection. All the things in our lives being reevaluated, and the things that naturally fall away are the things that we're not going to need anymore, maybe.
Like haircut. No, I really need a haircut.
We're going through an existential change.
Yes. Yep.
I don't even know what it means, what I just said, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's an important time to be an artist, because I think as an artist, that's what you naturally do, is actually these questions that form internally and externally. That's what your artwork, and that's what both of your applications showed, that you're actually questioning. And the questions that you're posing are in response to your own individual lived experience and how you're going through things. And I think it's nice for people to hear that. And I think people will rely on art, and we need those physical artworks on a wall in response to this moment to help us post-COVID, I feel, to really walk through that journey.
Process we're going through, right?
Because one of the magic things about art is that words can do many things, but sometimes images can convey millions of words in a single image and convey extra information that words can't convey. And when we sit down to make a drawing, sometimes we have this feeling and we don't know what to put in the image to convey that, but it somehow just is able to convey itself through us. We become mediums. Mediums for an idea.
I agree that an viewer gets to pour their story into those lines. Like you put a person by a window looking out through it at another person walking down the street, and they can pour their whole story of their experience of the last.
A vessel for the person to apply their own individual experience.
Do you have Carl's work there?
Yeah, I certainly do. Give me 2 seconds. So, because I really responded when you're saying the positions of the figure. So the one that I've grabbed, I hope you don't mind, is that one. Can you see that one?
Yeah. So with this one, again, we've got this figure in a protected or in a protective position. For me, this dark shape represents chaos and the unknown. And this dark shape is something that runs through all of the images in this collection. On the one hand, we've got this existential void, this meaninglessness of life, this what does it all mean And if you go down that hole, it can get really, really depressing, and you can go. It's a horrible place. But then at the same time, you sometimes have a day where you look up and you see a bird, or you see a beautiful flower, or just a sunny day, and you're filled with joy. And I think the life that we have is the vibration between these two things. It's finding a balance between order and chaos. And to some degree, in this image, again, I don't know whether you can see, but there's these small little crop marks, and I've left in some of the construction lines in the drawing, just to show that in all of this chaos, there's still structure. We can still make structure and find balance with structure and chaos.
Nicely said. Nicely said.
We're both just responding to it.
Yes. I actually can relate. I can see, it's amazing that you touch on the balance and the structure. Because when I saw this speech, I could definitely have, I could see myself being that. It's sort of, because I've been working personally as to keep my balance of all that chaotic that is happening at this stage. And I think what you have done with this work, you did capture exactly what, for me personally, when I see it, it did capture exactly what I'm feeling at the moment. And, trying to, balance, with life and work. And it's just beautiful to see how, you put it in this beautiful image there. So thank you, Carl. It's just...
Yeah. I
Does
think
this
it's
work
so...
make you feel safer, Fatima?
Yes, yes. And
I was thinking the same. I was looking at his work and how solid it is in many instances. Like you can pour yourself into there and you'll be safe.
But at the same time, how great it is that this exhibition, hopefully when we be able to go and see the exhibition, we can actually look back the same time. And yeah, that's what I get excited about, the works that you're putting at the moment, and looking forward to even you touch base on your application, how that phone call. We're actually lucky this community is lucky to have artists like yourself in order to put yourselves and tell your stories through printmaking. And I think it is, we have to thank you for your work and the stories that you're actually sharing, and especially with your work. So don't thank me or Dave. And I think we got very excited when we received your email, I think, Carl, that is like, oh my God, he's actually a printmaker here at Cardinia. So I think was the way around, that we actually got too excited to hear from you too.
But with people like you, there's no way to share it. My exhibitions are normally in the city, and there's big productions of once a year or twice a year with big expenses, and this is a really amazing way to share it with my local community. And then we went to see the Hills Hub.
Which is amazing.
We're going to see Hills Hub.
We missed that. I think it's so nice as well to hear you talking about it. And as you said, we always rely on the city, but if we come back and we focus on our home in the southeast, there will be people listening into this talk. And I think there's a lot of inspiration and your ability to be vulnerable. I know we're all feeling quite fragile. I can speak for myself when I first came on this call because of the chaos that's happening. I feel quite grounded now talking to my community in this small chat. I think people will really hear that and feel that too. And I think it's important for people to know that they can be artists and they can create out here. And you can be an artist in the middle of Pakenham and still have a successful career. And I think it's just being...
And in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
keep throwing that in. It's like,
there's a strange thing that has happened with art and the city and the exclusivity and pricing that has, when I have invited my local street to openings in the city, I know all my neighbors. I never used to know my neighbors in the city, but here we do. And they don't want to come. They feel quite uncomfortable with having to go into the big smoke for what they perceive might be really kind of snooty get-togethers, but A, it's not always like that, and B, now we can get our neighbours there.
yeah.
It's just up the road. If they don't come, I will know where they live.
Yeah. That's the best. That's good.
And you know they're home.
I don't know their house. I don't know their home.
So true.
No,
Amazing.
this has been great.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you, Lana and Carl. And I think, once again, for any artists out there that you're practicing at home, please contact us. We'll be able to try to give as much support as we can. And from, Lana and Carl, you heard, it's not much that, together we'll be able to definitely make sure that the art stays in Cardinia. And I think it's so much that we can offer rather than actually looking elsewhere. So really hope that, the arts, grows, bigger and better in our local community.
And hopefully we can have our exhibition soon and see each other's faces.
Yes,
In
that's
person
right.
would be nice.
Distance, of course, but
Yeah. Exactly. Safe distance, we should say that.
yeah.
Thank you for being honest and vulnerable, everyone, as well. I think it's so nice for people to. I know you shared, Fatima, Carl, Lana, about the difficulty of talking about your own art and what you do. And I really appreciate everyone's honesty in this talk, because I think it's so nice for people to tune in and be like, we're just humans on the other end. And that's what these talks are really about. It's just.
You created a very nice safe space for us. Thank you very much, you too.
Should put up this one just before we go as well, because I feel like this is so topical and how much trouble we're having with the technology.
Oh,
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is,
pretty much this video.
my girlfriend is stuck in Kuala Lumpur. She was seconded for work, and pretty much the moment she arrived, she had to start working in isolation in her own house. And she's the most outgoing person I know. And her husband is in hospital, and she cannot go back to Sydney to be with him. And she's just, every week she comes up with a new way of being okay. And she's just, I can see she wants to go crazy, and then she just brings it all back. So this is for her.
Yeah, it's amazing.
beautiful. Okay.
All right.
So you want to close? Do you want to do a statement or
Closing statement?
so closing, like bye and check us out next week.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for joining the Tuesday Learn and Share. I believe that's the first time I've got the title of this event series right. I get it wrong every time. As we said at the start, so we've been talking with artists with Lana and Carl. So they were successful in our COVID response grant, and they will be presenting an exhibition at the Hills Hub, hopefully sometime by the end of the year. But what we recommend is keep online, check out our Facebook, Arts and Culture, and you can also find more information at www.cardinia.vic.gov.au/alive with creativity. And then, of course, once the exhibition goes live, you'll know about it through the Hills Hub information. It's been such a privilege and pleasure talking to you, Lana and Carl, and thank you for taking the time. And it's so nice to meet in a time where we're feeling a lot of anxiety and stress, just to really feel a sense of community and know that we're all here and we're still creating and we're still listening. So thank you. And tune in next Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
You're amazing.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.